Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation. Of this long-term and complex investigation. Of this long-term and complex investigation. Of this long-term and complex investigation.
This is a preview.
What is up, guys? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Delphi, let's talk about it. Lots to talk about. There's a 3-day hearing. 3-day hearing. Hello, beautiful people. All the people. There was a 3-day hearing on a bunch of motions. I went ahead back and took a look at all my notes that I took, as well as all these motions that were filed back in Atlantic email calls info. What? Huh? What? I'm back to take a look at some stuff. Good. I am so behind on this case. Well, you know why everybody's behind on this case? It's very simple, because they're not allowing cameras in the courtroom. Okay. But I was very interested into here, and I'm going to play some of the mainstream media shit. What is up, Julie? What is up, Julie? God, I just love this woman. I just see her name, and I'm just like, cheese and rice. I don't know that I've gotten to talk with Lana about Delphi yet. Yeah. I think Delphi's a hard case. I think anytime you talk about kids, it's a hard case. So, you're taking cameras out of the courtroom. Like me and Bella had to go to Indianapolis, where we were in Fort Wayne, I think, the last time we were there, to like sit in the hearing. To get anything. And the difference between like how I report and how Bella would report versus how mainstream media is reporting. Except I will give one guy super, super props and credit, because you just have to bring both sides. Like everybody's been talking about the fact that, Richard Allen, confessed 60 times. And it doesn't make it any more valid. I'm telling you, it does not make it more valid. But the conditions that Richard Allen has been in and, was in and has been in, it would be the same if he confessed on day 22, day 33, day 60. It's those living conditions in where he would have been, it's all the same in what he was under. So that's but let's talk about, I want to talk about things that they wanted. Motion to compel. When I was there, they wanted things. The defense was like, wait a second here. First of all, I know how lucky. First of all, you guys are trying to give us stuff after the deadline, this is what's crazy about it. I started thinking about this. If you provide me something after the deadline, that's great. You can't use it, but what if I want to? Okay. What if you're providing me stuff after the deadline that's actually, really helpful to me and for my client, but it does you no good. It actually could hinder your case. But how do you give something, like if there was these deadlines and stuff wasn't turned over, how is that not considered a Brady violation? That's the same exact reason that, the Rust actor all that stuff got thrown out. Alec Baldwin. So I want to talk about the stuff that the defense wanted that they didn't have. And then where are we? Please start covering Delphi more. Oh, I'm going to be bringing it. That's our next main case, that. And Donald Adelson and Shanna Gardner. So you got it. So as much as you're going to talk about Richard Allen's 60 times that he confessed, I want to talk about who turned on Liberty German's phone at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. I mean, wait, what? How is that not over every mainstream media headline? Who turned on? You guys, that gave me such Chris Shanann Watts vibes. Okay. What that means is this. I have my phone. I turn it off. And let's say 10 of you guys text me. I have gone out of my way to be taught by people to ask questions so that I could know what I'm talking about, because I wanted to know how this could happen. So if I shut off my phone and 10 of you guys text message me, the order in which you text message me, okay, is all gonna like queue up and be in my like usually like a patch out. So not only when I turn on my phone is it then going to come through my phone as like like all these messages, right? But there's going to be an order to those messages. Okay. And so when I heard that there was about 10 to 15 calls that came through because somebody turned on Liberty's phone at 4:30 in the morning, and then all these text messages came through all kind of at the same time, because they were waiting to be patched through your phone. It was like in the transmissional signal phase, and it gets through. Well, I have so many questions about that. A, who are the people, number one? But even before that, who turned on the phone? Who turned on her phone at 4:30 in the morning so that all of these phone calls came through? Okay. And then the biggest part here is that, let's say that once I would have gotten like Liberty's phone and that dump, I would have had, this is how I figured out in the Chris Watts, Shanann Watts case that there was a problem, is because Shanann's phone was on that whole morning, and then somebody turned off Shanann's phone. Okay? And everyone's like, oh, it was Chris because Chris had Shanann's phone. No, it wasn't, because it wasn't pinging off those towers. So that means somebody shut off Shanann's phone, because in the morning, her messages that she was getting through her phone, the same time that they were being sent out by the sender is the same time that her phone was receiving them. But the ones in the afternoon, after a certain point, and that's why I said Nicole Atkinson had that phone, it was after she went to go to the doctors to do that little loop-de-loop. She had her phone. Nicole Atkinson took her phone with her, took Shanann's phone because she'd already been in the house. And when she did that, she didn't realize that Shanann had that stupid app pop up. Like if you're driving, it'll alert somebody. If you text me, hey, I'm driving right now, I'll get back to you and I'm not driving. Like that automated thing. So, but earlier in the day, Shanann's phone's receiving these text messages at the same time that the person that's sending them is sending them. So her phone's on. And that would be the same thing with like Liberty's phone. Okay. So I said, well, we would have a really good idea to be able to narrow down what time the phone was actually shut off as well as turned back on. And it could shut off for numerous reasons. Your phone could shut off because, let's say, the battery dies. Your phone shuts off, right? But then you have to plug it back in, get the charge, and then your phone can turn back on, right? But out in the middle of the woods, if your phone dies on you, how do you start your phone back up? You can't plug it into a tree, okay? Just let you know that. You just can't go plugging it into a tree. This is what the defense was saying. Nobody was talking about this. The defense is saying, how does Liberty's phone get all of these messages at 4:30 in the morning when clearly her phone was turned on. So I said, well, wait, why aren't we doing subpoenas? Why aren't we, as the defense, you can subpoena third parties. And then just Judge Gull has to allow that. For example, in the Karen Reed case, they wanted things like Higgins's phone. They wanted all these records, right? And there was a hearing, and then she thought about it, and then ultimately she denied Karen Reed getting Brian Alberts, Brian Higgins, all these people's phones, their records, like historical data, right? Which I don't think is going to be the ruling on the next case. So it'll be funny. It'll be interesting if you can even still get shit. I don't even fucking know. But that was a bias as hell because we all watched the trial and we're all like, well, wait, the feds got their records. Like, come on, let's bring in these records. Let's really get down to this. And if you're in the interest of truth and justice, you do whatever to get to the bottom of the truth. I don't believe that we're invading anybody's privacy. For example, I just want to know what time certain people texted. So if you texted Liberty or you called Liberty, come forward and say you texted or called her that day. Come forward with your phone records. All right, so that we can see what time you texted or called her phone and then compare it to when she received it. But it would truly help to be able to see, okay, we know all these calls didn't come in at 4:35, 4:30 in the morning, 4:36, whatever. The phone was turned on, and that's what the defense is saying. It's because it's accurate. I believe the phone was shut off, and I believe the phone was turned on. Because if the phone happened to die because of battery, it would never be able to come back on at 4:30 in the morning when somebody attempted to turn it back on. Unless that person came out in the middle of the woods with a damn charger pack. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we're talking about here. Maybe they thought there was no signal there, and that's why they turned. You guys, it doesn't. How about this? We're not asking why somebody turned it on. We're asking who turned it on, because it wasn't Richard Allen. So who cares why anybody did anything? Who turned on Liberty's phone at 4:30 in the morning? And then all of these text messages then come through. That's what happens when your phone is off. And when you but nobody wants to talk about that. Blows me away. Blows me out the fucking water that nobody wants to talk about this. But they want to talk about Richard Allen, 60 confessions. You know how many people confessed? And then the Innocence Project came along because DNA came along, and all those motherfuckers that confessed to murders got freed. The reason they were confessing to, it's called a false confession. Okay. So I went back to this old March 12th filing. Oh, well, Julie, I would love to hear your theories. I'm here for them. Yes. All they want to talk about is the confessions and not the other details because they really don't care. Yeah. I agree. I 100% agree. I think this world has seriously, I don't know what people are drinking nowadays, but cell phones are literally getting people arrested and convicted every single day, multiple times a day for serious crimes. But then when we want to use cell phones to exonerate us, we are basically told by everybody that uses them every day to exonerate or to allege and then convict somebody. We're told by those same people that we're nuts now, that we are nuts, or that something had to have happened. Something must have. No, it's probably just a glitch in the system. Yeah, fuck you. That is so dumb. I can't even get on the level of dumb that is. That is straight stupid. Like this. Spell it like this. STOOPID. Stupid. That is so dumb. With that type of logic, I would have failed every test I've ever taken in my life if I used that type of logic. Like just wild people, like wild. Like how do you even get up and debate that? Blows my mind. Blows my mind. Can't use the tech as both as a sort. Yeah, no. And then I'm over here blown. Ready for this one? I'm over here blown. Why doesn't the state have an expert, a phone expert? You guys have spent how many millions of dollars on this case and you don't have a phone expert? I don't have any words. I don't have any words. And then when they try to like say like, okay, like let's both sides agree on an expert to teach us some of this stuff. Because Nick's over here like, I don't know this, I don't know that. You're not an expert, you're not an expert. Well, go get one or shut the fuck up. Or shut up. I mean, and we don't need like, there's health data. For example, let me ask you guys a simple question. This is just like if it was to be on my kid's second grade homework. Tommy went to the store. In order to go to the store, Tommy had to get off his couch, walk to his car, get in his car, start the car, drive to the grocery store, get out of the car, walk into the grocery store, go and find the mustard, and then pay for it at the counter, and then walk out of the grocery store, get into his car, drive back home, turn his car off, get out of the car, go back into his house. Okay? Tommy has his phone with him. Now, well, Tommy only took 16 steps. 16 steps during that period of time. You wouldn't say, oh, the fucking thing's broke. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh my God, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Oh my God, it doesn't work. No. Let me tell you about how this would work. I didn't tell you guys that Tommy uses a wheelchair, right? Tommy's in a wheelchair. Tommy's in a fucking wheelchair. And then Tommy sits in that stupid scooter and it drives him up. So the only time that Tommy took any steps, okay, is when I helped him get into his wheelchair before we got in the car and when we got, out of the car. The steps that he took to get in and out. Oh, that makes perfect sense now, right? Not, oh my God, this is broke. Oh my God, it's so inaccurate. For example, the defense new attorney, and I can't say her name, so I'll say defense attorney A. Defense attorney A. Aguilar, something like that. She asked these people in court over the 3-day hearing, when somebody asked Dawn if she'd ever been to the crime scene, and she's like, well, no, I haven't. But that doesn't matter because I have your crime scene photos. Just like why you wrecked down 1122 King is because I don't have to go to that crime scene, right? I don't have to physically go there because you guys took all the photos and that's why you said it was fine. We just wreck shit. So they asked that Dawn woman if she'd ever been out there, saw photos. Anyways, so this defense new counsel wanted to talk about the health data steps because they're very important because she wants to know, well, did you guys, how many steps does it take to get to this point, 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 to this point? Did you guys ever do it? Did you guys ever count it out, map it out? No. How many years has this case been going on and nobody saw to themselves, let's see how many steps it takes to get from this point to this point to this point to this point? I mean, if that does not just blow your mind, I don't even know. What up, Lady Di? Lack of DNA does not mean you are incorrect, and presence of DNA does not mean you are guilty. There has to be more, right? Well, she can go now and have a member of LE take her. There you go. I mean, she can. But I personally think it's needed, okay? But when I found out that people on the stand during this 3-day hearing said that they had never, how many steps would it take you to get to walk down the hill, go across, do all this stuff, right? I did watch my videos. You can hear my steps. I know. I was just going to say that. And I played your videos, Julie, way back in the day before I ever knew who you were. I was like, whoever this girl is in the sky, they're just walking it. I was like, this is really helping me. This is like how I like to do things. So I hear this. I hear, wait, we have health data, Apple data. And the defense attorney was so cool, calm, and collective when she said, because they talked about the health data, like the steps, like there's no way. And she's like, well, why wouldn't there be a way? Because if you're in a car, you're not taking steps, you pieces of shit, right? Yeah. So how many steps would it really take to get to where this back, if you were to get into a car before you ever cross over to the bridge, and not the bridge, but the water, there's that back, you guys know what I'm talking about, like, where like you could take like, what is it? Julie's early videos are must see. Yeah, they are. Yes. I remember I was like, this guy is great. But she's like, lack of steps doesn't mean lack of movement. And she's so right. Like, I mean, that's like a no-brainer. Okay? Just because if my phone only scheduled got me for 100 steps today, let's say, it doesn't mean that Lana didn't fucking move all day, but barely any. I could have left my phone somewhere for a couple hours. I mean, I could have gotten into a car. And when I'm in a car, you're not registering steps. But yet, in the Karen Reed case, they wanted to talk about that it would go. You can't make this shit up, man. But I about died when I heard that. Because, like, I'm like, whoever this new attorney is, I'm just loving her because she's so, like, dude, critical thinking and logic is a must. Is a must. If you're going to be rocking any type of, like, defense or prosecution of somebody. But for nobody to want to know who turned on Liberty's cell phone at 4:36 in the morning, don't you think that if it helped the state's case that they would be all over that? Like, why aren't they trying to say, like, oh yeah, Richard Allen went back to the crime scene because he just wanted to, like, serenade in it, like they did with Brian Kober, I mean, what guy literally is just out there and thinks that you can just snatch up two girls who don't know you? Because it makes way more sense that Abby and Libby would have had no problem going with Holder because of they actually went with, like, the boyfriend, or even if they didn't go with the boyfriend and they went with because they knew these people. But Richard Allen's just going to snatch up some kids in the middle of the day when there's other people around. I mean, talk about some cahoons to think that you're going to do that and get away with it in the middle of the day. I think that's just pure stupidity. But you would get away with something if you thought that you were untouchable. Richard Allen wasn't untouchable. You know what I mean? So let's take a look. Motion to compel. I want to point out a couple of things that they wanted way back in the day, and let's see where we're at with this. And what I wanted to show first was right here. I just give up the phone stuff. I think it's really important. Right here. For example, one of the more important pieces of evidence in this case is the data retrieved from the phone found at the scene where the victims were found, as this piece of evidence contains data concerning the down the hill video and other important information. This phone and the data contained on the phone has been available since 2017. Yet the defense did not receive the data from that phone by the deadline of December 14, 2022, as designated by local rule. The defense, knowing that this evidence simply had to exist, finally sent an email to the prosecutor on June 17, 2023, requesting the data from the several phones, including the phone in question that belonged to Liberty German. The state of Indiana did not provide the phone data for Liberty German's phone until September 8th, 2023, nearly 9 months after the state of Indiana should have turned over that evidence. And nearly 3 months after the defendant specifically requested that evidence, even though the defense is not required to make a specific request for relevant evidence, most of the other items requested in that June 17, 2023 email to the prosecution still to this day have not been turned over to the defense. This includes data, reports, and other information related to the images of the bridge purportedly taken on Liberty German's phone at 2:05 p.m. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because we're going to talk about how long it would have taken this crime if we are sitting on that jury. Think about this. The first Frank's hearing did such an amazing job for me as a reader to literally listen to all of the steps that it would have taken one single solitary person to do. Okay? And when you read that and think that one person did that and that they were able to get in, get out type of thing and do everything, and because going with the state's, version, be seen on the camera all bloody and muddy by people, blah, blah, blah. But it was supposed to be like, that's quick. It's quick. Well, I read somewhere that they think that this took like basically 18 minutes. 18 minutes? 18 minutes? Dude, between him and Brian Kober, these are ninja killers. 18 minutes. So 2:05 p.m. is the purported. Okay, the bridge purportedly taken. This is on Liberty German's phone at 2:05 p.m. on February 13, 2017. Now, I want to talk about the Snapchat photo because I'm going to ask an expert this, but when you take a snap and you actually take the picture in the snap part of when it opens up, that picture gets, if you just use that and you share it to your feed, and you didn't save the photo, that photo wouldn't be in my ring of photos. Interesting, Julie. Well, that's what I'm going to try to get at, is that Julie is saying that she's almost positive that there are 4+ hours unaccounted for of the discovery of the crime scene and when the official report of them found. Was this when the phones came on, or when the phone came on, rather not phones, or certain things removed? Yeah. Well, because isn't this snap photo nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found? So hold on here. So at 2:05, that's the time of that bridge picture. And then Liberty German's phone at 2:07 p.m. on February 13th. Both purportedly sent through Snapchat. Okay. And if you have to like save your photos, otherwise, like when you take them, they won't be there. Snapchat just records the viewport of the phone. It doesn't actually access the camera in 2017 and take the picture itself. It just turns the camera on. That's why Snapchat photos lacked metadata then. Well, I want to look into that. So next up, the week of August 5th. Oh wait, no, I don't want to do that yet. Okay. Okay. So one of the big points of this hearing was to allow a third-party culpability defense. And I'm over here thinking, if I'm over here telling the world that I didn't do it and I'm innocent, okay, then of course a third party is involved because I don't think these people died because of God just poof. Okay, so this whole push, this needs to change. That a judge has to allow you to use a third-party culpability defense. If I'm telling you that I didn't do it, no shit, there's going to be somebody else that did. But if I don't show cause to do this X, Y, and Z because you think I'm going to try to confuse the jury, I should be allowed to confuse the jury. Okay? Just like a cop can lie to you. That's how I feel about that because that just sounds so stupid. But for this judge to have the discretion, and just like in Karen Reed's case, that you can't use the third-party culpability. That to me is an oxy-fucking-moron. I didn't do it, so clearly a third party did. And if this isn't good enough here to show that there is, like, and it's the same thing in the Karen Reed case. If that case wasn't enough to show that there was, then I don't know what cases out there are. And she wasn't allowed to do it. And what? Is Richard Allen, are they going to say that he can't do it? I mean, what the hell, people? It's just like, has all common sense and logic just gone out the window in society? If I'm sitting here telling you that I didn't do it, then somebody else did. Because these people would be alive if that wasn't the case. So of course I should have the ability, no matter, I don't have to show anything, you know? So this is what I have to do. I have to show how your investigation, if you would have done an investigation, so then you're forcing me to put it all on the cops, and nobody in this world wants to go against the po-po. So I got to go and tell jurors that, hey, guess what? I can't sit here and try to show you somebody else that had all of these reasons and blah, 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 which goes to my whole reasonable doubt case. But you want me to go and attack the police to show that they're inept and they didn't do their job. Because if they would have, and if they would have been able to have these recordings and they didn't, have evidence just walk out the door because they didn't do X, Y, and Z. But you want me to go that route. Okay. And basically have these jurors feel like that they have to go against the police if they want to find me not guilty. And that's what happened, in my opinion, in the Karen Reed case. You got people that are going to sit in the deliberating room and say to themselves, well, I mean, the cops clearly did their job. They investigated this for 6 years, and they went back to the beginning, and then they like went through stuff with the fine, tooth comb and blah blah. Like, I shouldn't have to make people feel like they have to pick my innocence, and by doing so, by acquitting me, that it's because I have to get you to feel like the cops are inept. And I just feel like that's a huge hang up for people that believe that the cops can do no wrong, or that the prosecutor just didn't prove his case. Like, because everybody believes like, oh, you were arrested for a reason. They didn't arrest you for nothing. It's unfortunate because it's backwards. But to think that Richard Allen, just like Karen Reed, she hasn't ruled on it. She hasn't ruled on it yet. The state filed a motion to exclude the third-party defense. And that'll be a huge blow to Richard Allen. This 100% should be denied. He's not supposed to be able to talk about Odinism, and I mean, so then how do I talk about the fact that we're missing all these interviews? How are you putting a cap on how long this trial can take? Everything to do with this case is just it's horrible. It's bad. It's really, really bad. But it all points to inept policing, investigating, too many hands in the cookie jar. You guys are all on the same pages. People are reporting things to you like, oh, I thought that you did this. I thought that you did that. Like, then nothing's getting done. We got a new recording system, and oh wait, all of those first interviews, none of those were recorded. So, now we heard a lot more, like I said, about this whole geofencing, and I want to show you guys, because I'm going to use stuff from the other cases to kind of show you guys what it would look like. And I want to see how I want to do this. I think I can go like this. Hold on. Let me grab this. All right, here it is. Again, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome. Damn. Again, what's up, guys? Let me just back this up just a tad. Okay. See that? See these little times. So this is the latitude, longitude, these little pins. And this was, so this would be any phone that would be going off. See, it says 1909 seconds. When you click on it, actually, like, it'll give you the information of like the time of the movement of that phone. And so this is what you'd be looking at, though, when you want to talk about geofencing. When you want to talk about taking the data and realizing that, okay, did you identify who any of these people were? And the answer is no, right? Did you try to preserve anything? No. Now, Richard Allen, for example, for this, Richard Allen isn't all these people, right? These are all other devices. And I'm just using this as an example, but this is what you'd be looking at. And so when I see this, let me get closer. The geofence. Right here. Okay. The very last discovered item that the defense received before the prosecutor requested that the defense be kicked off the case was geofencing evidence that the defense believes was received on October 6, 2023. This geofencing evidence was received nearly 10 months after the state was required to turn over, and contained what appeared to be highly exculpatory evidence concerning a variety of important matters, including the phone numbers of multiple people who appeared to have either been at the crime scene or within 60 yards to 100 yards of the crime scene during the very times when the victims were purportedly being murdered, according to the state's timeline provided in the probable cause affidavit. And so what that means is it's like taking a look at this. Here, let's say this is our crime scene. All right? Right here, that's our crime scene. See all these little pegs? Who are all these people? Okay? Who are all these motherfuckers? And it's just like, well, you better know who all those people are, right? But who cares? Well, or we don't know, or whatever, doesn't matter. So that's what that would look like. And then see right here, in this later discovery, the defense found a map prepared by someone, presumably law enforcement, that appears to track the movement of these people in and around the crime scene the afternoon of December 13th. So this is what it would look like. Including between 3:02 and 3:27 p.m. At or very near the locations within 60 or 100 yards, or where the bodies were ultimately found the following day. Since their return to Richard Allen's defense, Allen's attorneys have specifically requested via email February 26, 2024, that the state of Indiana provide all narrative reports related to the geofencing data, as well as the documents related to the geofencing data. But the state of Indiana so far has claimed that no such documents exist. And you know what? I believe it. You want to know why? Because I don't think that they did it. I think the feds did it. I think the FBI did it. So they wouldn't have those. You're going to have to put in a freaking request to get the FBI to get you to turn over their work in this case, because they did work in this case, and that wouldn't be in the discovery. That wouldn't be with the state police. Again, the defense is at the mercy of the prosecutor's claims of the existence or non-existence of such evidence. And so you cannot sit here and tell me. Layman people don't understand. You have to have like somebody that's going to testify on your behalf on how the investigation should have went when it pertains to digital stuff like this. But trying to tell a jury that the police didn't do their job or they should have done this and they should have done this and why didn't they do this? Because that jury isn't going back with any of these police reports. But I just think that if I was on the jury, if you showed me a bunch of phones that were in that area and that you don't know who they belong to, I'm going to have a problem with that. You know? Due to that, I don't believe the state did a full-fledged geofence. I think they did a 2-tower dumps and some Google GPS data and tried to create a geofence. Well, we'll see. I think the FBI was in on that. I think they did. I think they used Google Tracks. That's what I think. I believe they used Google Tracks. I put 99% stock in it. Now the question is, who did it though? Who did it? I believe the FBI did it. Now, as it relates to the geofencing evidence, it would be shocking that law enforcement would take the time to put a map together tracking the movements of certain phones in and around the crime scene between 12:39 and 54 seconds that day and 5:49 and 6 seconds that day, but would then not follow up with detailed narrative reports concerning the geofencing. I think because it was turned over to the FBI. And that's when you have to go and deal with them to get all of their work. That's FBI did do it. It was likely Kevin. There you go. See? Not DB. Now, I'm more concerned or interested in the fact that yet the prosecution claims no such geofencing reports exist. And I think maybe they didn't word it differently. But however, the defense has heard this type of answer from the prosecution in the past, only to learn that the prosecution's claims that documents did not exist weren't true. No. Again, specifically, someone prepared a map which tracked the February 13th, 2017 afternoon movements of multiple phones in and around the place where the victims were ultimately found the following day. Particularly, some of these movements appear to have occurred between 3:02 p.m. and 3:27 p.m., either at the scene where the victims were ultimately found or within 60 to 100 yards from that site, and none of the phones or people associated with those phones have any affiliation with Richard Allen. Who are these people? Yep, you're going to have to ask for that, Tui. Who are these people? How is this not broke? Yet on whose phones they belong to? Were they underage at the time? I mean, whose phones were these? Because I think the way the defense is writing this up, it's like that they know. Because they would have to know to say that there's no affiliation with Richard Allen. Following the request for the identity of the geofencing experts, the prosecution claimed that he had no idea who analyzed the geofencing data, but then the state of Indiana provided the name of 4 people that may be called as the state's expert witness on geofencing. And now this is just what sent me over the edge. Nowhere in discovery has the defense located any narrative, reports, or other documentation or analysis of the geofencing data from any of the 4 identified state geofencing experts. But yet they are all just going crazy the other day now, mind you, here in August, talking about, you're not a phone expert, you don't know this, you don't know that, going at each other. And it's like, they wanted, this is what was another weird thing, like, they want to agree to use the same expert for the phones. The defense did locate very limited background information concerning one of the owners of one of the phones, but did not locate any narrative reports, interviews, or notes concerning the owner of the phone. Again, Baldwin's just like so adamant of this right here. It would be shocking if the owners of these phones were not interviewed when their movements were tracked and then replicated on a map depicting their movements around the crime scene based upon geofencing coordinates. Yet the defense has not located any interviews of the owners of those phones. Come on, who are these people? Come on, my Delphi people. Whose phones are these? Whose phones are these? Wouldn't this be grounds right here of to be able to use third-party culpability? This just blows my mind. The defense has located no information or interviews containing in any investigative documents concerning any other persons or people whose phone numbers are identified on February 13, 2017 as walking in or around the same area where the victims were ultimately located the next day. Oh, damn, right here. In addition to those discovery violations already identified, the state of Indiana has also failed to produce other evidence that the defense has had to either pursue or on its own or make a specific request from the prosecution. Some of this evidence includes, but is not limited to, the fake crime scene image found on Brad Holder's Facebook page. Video of a ritual in Fort Wayne involving Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall, in which Westfall can be seen marking a tree using his hand at a similar height on the tree as with the app. How are you going to keep any of this out? All reports that detail how certain audio is missing in certain videos found on a hard drive labeled DVR original, in which the video is present but the audio is not. The defense would further request all reports that detail why there is not audio, what efforts have been made. Remember all this? The identity of all persons whose interviews were erased as detailed in paragraph 69. What the hell? But we're not going to do this third party. Get it out of here. The identity of the person or persons, presumably law enforcement, that labeled the geofencing data, including labeling a second phone as geofence victim. That was not the phone belonging to Liberty German. What is this? Who took these notes when they were over there in good old Delphi these past 3 days? Did this ever come up? Has this been talked about? The identity of geofence victim from a phone that does not belong to Liberty German. And I think this is where we're going to get into the whole part. Like, did Abby have a phone? It was not her phone. We know that. But, and it's to go back to Abby. Like, whose phone? All right. Is it Abby's? Did Abby have a phone? Logic would tell me that that's the only other possibility. The identity of the person or persons, presumably law enforcement, that reduced the geofencing coordinates of multiple phones on February between 12 to a map tracking they want the identity of that person. All interview reports, documents that did come out. Oh, for hells. My phone has never turned on for no reason ever in my whole entire life. So, again, that would just be so special. I just think that the defense should not be excluded from using any of this shit. And then this is going to be this is the state's answer to everything is, we're not using that. Well, we're not using that. Well, we're not using that. As to well, you guys turn this over 9 months later or after the deadline. It's like, we don't care if you're using it or not. That's a violation. That's a damn violation. So I don't care if you're using it or not. Alec Baldwin just walked literally out of a courtroom, a free man, because of literally 1/100th of what is in this case and what's been done. So I just think it's crazy. They must use it. No, the state doesn't have to use anything that they don't want to use in discovery. Well, we're not going to use that, so we didn't think it was important to you. That's what they try to say when they don't turn over information. Like the famous, we're not going to use the IGG against Brian Kohler. I don't know how. I cannot believe that mainstream media is not literally pushing to make sure that this case is on television. I have no words for that. You would think that, because in order to take really good notes, because you have no way to report on the case, that you'd have multiple people in there to be able to get the information and to pump it out. So, but the big thing that people want to talk about is these 60 confessions. Okay, awesome. The Innocence Project wouldn't exist if people didn't falsely confess the things that they didn't do, and then DNA exonerate them. It's like that doesn't mean anything. Also, Richard Allen talking about any type of knife or any type of sharp object or whatever. Everybody and their mother knew that those girls were stabbed. So saying that he knew intimate details, get out of here. Get out of here. But what I just cannot believe that's not all over mainstream media is Liberty's phone coming on at 4:36 a.m. and 10 to 15 text messages all coming in her phone. And all you have to do is go out and ask the people whose numbers came in, ask them to go get their phone records. Even if her ass won't give you the damn subpoena, you can go and ask those people if they will get their phone records to see what time. I just need to know what time you texted the girl. I just need to know what time you texted her. I just need to know what time your phone has your outgoing call. What time your phone has your outgoing text. Okay? And then from that, you can build up on, okay, her phone was shut off at this time. When did you can narrow it all down. Hey, Skip. KK is a habitual liar and offender. Hi, Skip. I think I met you in, I want to say, were you there when I was there for that hearing back in March or my birthday? I think we, the people, have a huge interest in this case. Anytime that there's corruption, the public has a huge interest in it, and that's why this should be available. Yay, I thought so. Good to see ya. Good to see your name. Corruption makes this case an interest to the people, period. So, yeah, that was it. The one in March 19th. So, well, we're waiting for Gull after the 3 days to make some serious decisions. But if Richard Allen is denied the ability to use a third-party culpability defense, that's a sin. I think it will also lead to I think that should be automatic appeal. I think that the living conditions of Richard Allen, he has been able to not be involved in his defense whatsoever. Listen, if Richard Allen did it, let the evidence come out, let him be found guilty. But before that point, you're innocent until proven guilty, and you have the right to not live in prison, because that's not what's supposed to happen. And more importantly, 24/7 confinement. Get the fuck out of here, man. I'm sorry, but nobody would be fine. I'm just great. So, and when you got the right person, you have all this evidence against them. Again, you shouldn't have to do any of this stuff. So, I have no idea how Gull is going to rule on any of this stuff, because it's literally a flip of a coin. She could go either way with, I think, anything in life. Probably when she's batting as well. She could go either way on that plate. Let's take a look, though. I'm going to play some clips before we head on out. And Julie, I want to talk to you about some steps that I've been doing. I got some questions on some steps. Thought maybe you'd be able to help me with a couple of those questions. Plus, if I'm going to journey out that way this week, Oopsies. Okay.
That came out of that 3-day hearing that our cameras weren't allowed in. More now from Scripps Indianapolis reporter Caitlin Kendall.
The Carroll County Sheriff won't tell us where Richard Allen is being housed, but he's now in the sheriff's custody instead of Wabash Valley Correctional Facility. This comes after Judge Fran Gold granted his attorney's motion to vacate the safekeeping order in full. This means that Allen does not have to stay in solitary confinement, though the sheriff did say it will now depend on Allen's behavior moving forward. When that motion came down, Allen was seen smiling and being embraced by his attorneys. This came after nearly 12 hours of testimony, a very long day in court where we heard from 9 total witnesses in regard to the state's motion of limine, which essentially means the state wants the court to limit what the defense can say to the jury. We heard from a blood splatter expert who described in detail how the blood found was at the crime scene. These details made family of both Abby Williams and Libby German visually upset. Aside from the safekeeping order, all other motions that have been heard over these past 3 days are being taken under advisement by the judge, and she will issue a decision as soon as she is able. Richard Allen's jury trial is set for October. In Delphi, Caitlin Kendall, WRTV.
All right, now let's talk more about what came out of that hearing that our cameras were not allowed into. I want to welcome in Court TV senior producer of our documentary unit, Barbara McDonald, somebody who's followed the Delphi case since its inception. You are without a doubt our resident expert. So let's begin here. What was the juiciest thing? I mean, I know a lot came out of this, but the juiciest thing we learned over these last 3 days?
I think there's a lot of attention on the confessions. We learned more about these confessions. Initially, we had been told that there were several admissions made to his family. Now we find out there are more than 60 that were made during a 2-month period of time, that he made these admissions to multiple people, to guards, to other inmates who were guarding him on suicide watch, as well as to his family. Wow. And that some of those confessions, at least, contained information only the killer would know, according to the state. And he made these confessions not only verbally to these people, but also in writing. Now, we haven't seen exactly what he said. We haven't seen or heard his words, and we look forward to that at trial if this information's allowed in. But also keep in mind that these confessions came during a 2-month window when he was in maximum security prison at the Wabash Correctional Facility, allegedly the harshest conditions that he faced during his incarceration there. And he was behaving bizarrely. He was eating his own waste. Right. He was smearing it on himself.
His jail papers too.
Yes,
right?
and he was running from one end of his cell to the other to bang his head into the wall. And he was being medicated involuntarily for psychosis at the exact same time. And that some of these confessions contained information that wasn't true. Like in one of them, allegedly, he said that he molested both girls and then shot them. They were not molested and they were not shot, according to the investigation and the autopsy reports and all of that. So the defense doesn't want all of these in. Sure. Even the prosecution wants to limit some of these. So we don't know how much of this information is actually going to make it in front of the jury. Something else that came out during this is that the psychologist who was treating him at that facility during this 2-month window, when he's being psychotic and making these admissions, joined some of the Facebook groups online at the time and was perhaps participating in discussions about him and his mental health. And so there's a lot there with these confessions that we don't know yet how many of these will make it into the trial and whether or not this psychologist who was treating him could be impeached with some of this other information that's coming out about her.
Oh my gosh, Barbara, that is incredibly unprofessional, as you know. It's stunning, actually. It's really stunning.
She joined Facebook groups?
violation of HIPAA and a whole bunch of other things. And then not to mention, this is already.
I told you guys Facebook was the devil. Those Facebook groups get you every time. She didn't go in under an alt. She went in there as Sweet Susie. I'm going in here and blasted away. Oh my God, what is wrong? I'm sorry. The level of stupidity is just, it's laughable, you know? Blast, man.
Already been a case that has been so difficult to prosecute. It took almost 6 years for us to even make this arrest, and then to perhaps in some way cause a problem by behaving that way.
This is terrible. I know there were several other things, but let's hit the biggies. In terms of other big things that came out of it, I understand the prosecution has wanted certain words kept out of the trial. Where are we with that?
The judge has not ruled on that yet, but yes, they are saying that we want certain words like Odinism, the names of the men that the defense has identified in filings as being these potential Odinist suspects. Their names they don't want mentioned.
No, the psychologist, right? The psychologist went into Facebook groups, not his wife. The psychologist that was like seeing him at the time. And see, this to me, him being not able to use the word Odinism or any this, him not being able to use third-party culpability. If my defense is that I didn't do it, someone else did, and you're framing me, my defense is to show that there's all of this other information that points so heavily to these other people. I mean, so I'm not allowed to call these people to the stand. Right. The movie, yeah. There you go.
Kegan Kline, who was the guy behind the catfish account that they were looking at before they arrested Richard Allen, and Ron Logan, who was one of the first people they looked at.
And see, what blows me about the Ron Logan whole thing, there was nothing in his probable cause. Nothing. I went through it, and I like kind of like everything blew it out of the water, and I told people, I'm like, why isn't anybody covering the fact that Ron Logan's probable cause for his arrest doesn't mention this magic bullet anywhere? Okay, now in his probable cause, there's this bullet that was found right by the the bodies. That would hold true for whoever you would be arresting, or not even just arresting, but getting a search warrant to search for their guns and shit. Like, that would have to be there, and it wasn't in the Ron Logan shit. But then here, and all this time later, is this bullet. But it was never mentioned in any of the search warrants prior to that point. I don't know, guys. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Looked at, because he was the property owner where the bodies were found, and he lied about where he was and got other people to lie on his behalf about all of that. And so they don't want any of this
because of this probation violation. Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, those kids in Idaho 4, they're lying because of the drugs that they were, like, they're not lying because they were involved in murder. They were lying about what they were doing that had nothing, it was like, oh, I can't say that I was over there. What were you doing over there? I was buying drugs. Like, I was, if they're seen on camera, oh, what were you doing over there? Oh, I was just walking home, or like whatever their lie may be. But it's
to come in. And what they're saying to the defense is, if you can prove that it was somebody else, then come to this hearing and prove that. And if you can't prove that, you shouldn't be able to talk about them at the trial. So we don't know what the judge is going to decide on any of that.
Listen, so I can't prove something. For example, if the police didn't go out and get a camera that existed, okay, I most certainly should be able to talk about these people, should be able to show it all, and I should be able to say that, and if the police would have gotten this camera, okay, that was so important in this investigation that they didn't go and get, I would be able to probably prove it. But they didn't do their job. But because the police, like, I should not be able to talk about this because I need to go prove. Why are you putting this on me that I have to prove anything here? I don't got to prove shit. It's your burden. But if you're going to throw a bunch of shit at these jurors, and I'm sorry, but I think that this has been stuff has been fabricated, stuff has been manipulated. There's all of this shit missing. I can't exonerate myself because all this shit's missing. You know? And it's none of the stuff that you need. It's funny that all the stuff that I need is missing, but none of the stuff that you would need to prosecute me is missing. No, fuck you. I'm going to defend myself. I didn't do this. Obviously, I'm going to poke holes all up and down at your case. Reasonable doubt. But I should also be able to bring stuff to the table of when somebody says a guy spit on the girls' bodies and that's why you're going to find my DNA. If that's not allowed to come in, that's insanity to me. Absolute insanity. Elvis Field said that he spit on one of the girls, and that's why you'd find my DNA. But I can explain it. Yeah, they can. I just think that we all saw what happens with a jury in the Karen Reed case, at least in that town. Like if Karen Reed couldn't even use the third-party culpability defense, okay? Richard Allen and Karen Reed, in my opinion, have really strong cases for the third-party culpability defense. No doubt about it. But I personally think that everybody should be able to use the third-party culpability defense. If I believe that you did it just like you believe that I did it, but I believe that that person did it, I'm going to go ahead and show you why I think that that person did it and that you didn't do your job, right? And isn't that going to make reasonable doubt? So by using the third-party culpability defense, I'm also creating reasonable doubt. Now, if I'm coming up with outlandish type shit, then it's not going to be reasonable for the jurors. But I just think that's bullshit for us Americans that we can't use. I shouldn't have to go and have a hearing and play my hand for you. Fuck you. I think it's bullshit.
So basically, there's no concession from the state that, we think we got the wrong guy, right? They are adamant.
No, they're saying, and even though when he was arrested, they said there could be other people arrested for this crime. Now, apparently in this hearing, they said, no, it's one person. It's him, and we're putting all our cards on the table for him. It's not anybody else. They say that these other Odinists, that they were able to not prove that they could have been in Delphi during the critical time period. Mm-hmm. We know that Richard Allen admitted to law enforcement that he was on the trails that day around the time the girls were there. So that's a problem. There was also some new information that came out that apparently in one of his confessions, he said that he used a box cutter to commit the crimes. They were killed with a knife of some sort. And
box cutter. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no, I'm dead. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew that they were stabbed. People that don't even want to follow true crime are going to tell you that those girls were stabbed. That's like saying Idaho 4, same thing. I can't. Richard, what's his name? Logan's probable cause got out there. I just can't. I can't.
And he said it was his CVS issued box cutter, which apparently CVS issues these sort of disposable box cutters to people, and that's what he used. We don't have any information that says that was the murder weapon. We don't have any information that they found the box cutter and were able to tie that to him. So perhaps that will come out at trial. But another big thing that...
Perhaps it will come out at trial. Have you lost your mind, woman? That's not coming out at trial. I can tell you this right now. If they had that shit, this would have been a plea deal, okay? I am about to fall over. I mean, what the? No wonder our society is seriously going stupid. People that would watch this literally would be thinking to themselves after watching this, would think that the state has the murder weapon. I tell you, man, there will never be a plea in this case. No shit. But what I'm saying is, if any of that stuff existed, there would have been one. There would have been one.
That came out was talking about the sort of ritualistic nature of this crime scene, right? There was a woman who came in and testified that, yes, this fit all the criteria for a ritualistic crime scene. Sure. But one of the detectives who went out to investigate the blood at the scene, and specifically the blood that was on the tree, the defense has alleged that that was a Nordic rune, a letter F, that fits in with this whole Odinism theory and this ritualistic killing. This detective testified that he was able to, using his own blood that he had one of the lab people draw, that he was able to take a person who was 5'4", the same height as Libby German, and put the blood on her hand and put that up against the tree, almost leaning, like to prevent yourself from falling, perhaps. And that's what, in his estimation, is the source of that.
Chills. I have chills.
Yeah, you know,
how did Richard Allen redress these? Redress one of them in the other one's clothing and not get any blood on any of the clothing, minus just the collar part?
Apparently, it was a very difficult day for the families to be sitting there and listening to some of this testimony. Most of the hearings, we have not gotten this graphic with the information. It's a precursor to the trial, though. It's going to be a very, very difficult process for them. It also was a very long day. This was 3 days of hearings yesterday. They didn't end until 8:30 last night. They started at 9 in the morning. So it was a very, very long, very, very...
Okay, that's not normal. That's not normal. Fran Gull must be taking Adderall, man. Let's pass the word around. Hey, what's up, T? How are you? Oh my God. Just the wildest shit over here, man. Said it before, I'll say it again. Magic bullet sheath, taillight on mine. Like, can you guys imagine that rumor going around? Fran Gull took Adderall. That's why she was in there for 12 and a half hours. She's popping Addies. Sorry. How did the phone go back on at 4:30? Yeah. I mean, if I'm on that trial, if I'm on that jury and I hear that, I want some answers to, like, I have a question. How is this possible that this phone just turned back on? Like, and then when someone came in here a couple minutes ago and tried to say that your phones will just sometimes turn on like that, I about fell over in my chair. I'm like, see, that's what's wrong with society right there. Because if this was any other case, or if the same things that are, this should acquit somebody because it's convicting people. The same thing that's convicting people, when you want to try to use it to acquit you, it's like, no, there had to be something wrong. Oh, no, something's wrong with it. I just can't fuck with that, man. Do you believe in magic?
Very difficult day listening to some very disturbing testimony and trying to figure out, where we are on this case. But the judge, the only motion that she ruled on so far out of this 3-day hearing was this motion to vacate his safekeeping. He is now out of that maximum security prison, won't be going back through the duration of this. Obviously, if he's convicted, he'll go back to a facility like that.
Obviously, Barbara, obviously.
But for now, he's going to be held in a county jail. That'll give his family better access to him. That'll give his lawyers better access.
How about just access, period?
best to them. And that's something they've been fighting for, saying it interferes with their ability to defend him
No, sure.
because they can't
Don't you think? What do you mean? Like, that's a no-brainer.
see him
Sure.
while he's in this maximum security prison as often and as freely as they would like.
Sure. Okay, so the defense got a big victory there.
Yes.
They had claimed that
A big victory? That's his goddamn right. God, what is big victory there? No, that's his right.
he was harassed and being, you
And
know,
apparently when the judge made that ruling in court, Richard Allen smiled. He was embraced by his attorneys. So it definitely was something that he's wanted.
yeah, boy, oh boy. And I know we want the cameras in there.
do we get them
Barbara,
in?
last question quickly, please. Do you know if the families of Abby and Libby want this to be televised?
I don't know how they feel about that at the moment. They are under a gag order. They're not talking about the
right.
case. I know that
Okay, how can a family be under a gag order? All right, seriously. Interesting, right? Because with the Idaho 4, the family's not in the Idaho 4 case. You're not under a gag order. But then here in this case, the family is. Also, she just asked about, like, you know, hey, Teresa, answer me this if you're still in chat, love. I was looking at, from my days going there in March, did they come out and say whose phone when they were talking about the victim? This is the geofencing of the victim's phone, but it wasn't Liberty's. Have they announced what phone this is? I can so. It's not typical to put families under a gag order. So they haven't come out with that, right? So, I mean, because was it just typed wrong? Otherwise, it's looking more and more like Abby had a phone, right? Let me go back to that. Yeah, here it is. The defense isn't allowed to say someone is responsible or do anything but praise law enforcement. It was Libby's mom's phone. Is that what's going to come out as? I'm just curious what you get. Does anybody know anything like that? I'm going to pull this back up. I'm done hearing. Oh. Right here. There it is. That's what I want to know about. I mean, who labels, so the identity of the person or persons, presumably law enforcement, that labeled the geofencing data, including labeling the second phone as geofence victim. That was not the phone belonging to Liberty German. So what are we dealing with? Lana, I don't have to watch comedy anymore because you give me the best laughs. Dude, I swear, like, I have to laugh at these people because otherwise I think I'll just cry. I just don't know what they're drinking. I don't know what people are drinking. So this is my thing. I wanted to go back to the March stuff and to see like all the stuff that they were asking for you to compel, give us all this crap. You know, this is what they would have been looking at. It would have been like getting a map like this. Here's your crime scene. Okay. And when you do that, and it's like, here, now we identified these points. Okay, but hey, guess what? And then we're going to identify the piece of paper as saying it's the victim, or what was the exact language that they used here? Geofence victim. Geofence victim. It's like, this is what it would look like if they did it like that with like tracks. Like, this is what it would look like. This is a sample of that. And it's like nothing to see here. It's like, wait, what? But here's your crime scene. So, yeah. Geofence victim. And that's never been, like, nothing to see here. The identity of geofence victim from a phone that does not belong to Liberty German. The identity of the person or persons, presumably law enforcement, that reduced the geofencing coordinates of multiple phones on February 13, 2017 to a map tracking the various phones on that date between those times. So what is that? So I'm just curious, like, has any of this, all this compel, like, have they what came about? I was waiting for an order. Was there one that ever came out? And then, remember, T, I was telling you I wanted to put together like I don't know if you're still in here, but an Excel spreadsheet to do a badass timeline. Because I took Brad Holder's Facebook and I like screen recorded the whole thing, put it all on my page, so I still have it all. If he deleted whatever I did, both of his sons, I have all of it. And I remember going through all of his pages, and I got to the day of like the murder, and he was at the gym. Who the fuck goes to the gym at 2:00 in the morning? You guys know that, right? Yeah, their phone. Yeah, it's not their phones. I can't tell you the last. I was an athlete my whole life. I can't tell you the last time ever that I went to go work out at 2:00 in the morning. My whole entire life, never. How about you guys? You guys go work out at 2 a.m.? And then if I'm not mistaken, in his interview, he was talking about that he was going back there at like, was it when he got off work? Mary P's like, never. I've never. Yeah. Yeah, no one goes at 2 a.m. I'd say it's not standard or come. Oh, man. Meth is a hell of a drug. Or it's that he was saying that he was going to the gym. Okay. Because I think that has to do with the whole 4:30. I mean, 4:30 in the morning. Liberty phone on. And all the text messages come through. So I said, okay, let's just, who did the texting to her? Let's get their historical records to see what time they actually sent the text. And that way you can put a nice little stamp on the time frame of when the phone, how long the phone was off, like when the phone gets shut off. Because I don't believe that it was a glitch. It just came back on for no reason. And I don't believe now the phone died because it was like dead and hanging out in the woods, you know? Because then if that's the case, then how does it come back on if it's dead? Where's the video from the gym? I can pull up. I'll look for that. I can go through a bunch of my old videos. Carter knows all about the phones. I would agree with that. I just want to know who was in charge of it. Landon Holder had pics on his face. Yeah, I have them on my. I know that they're on my channel. I went live and did his whole Facebook page, so they're on my channel. I know that. So if he took them down, I still have them. If I were sleepwalking to the gym, probably the only way I would ever get there. Boom. You guys, it makes so much more sense if you think about it now. If you truly think about why neither one of these girls would scream, they knew who they were walking down and going anywhere with. Okay. They didn't need to separate and split apart, you know. As the family says, you know, the other one didn't leave the other one's side. Well, no, they didn't. Guys down the hill, like, why does that was a narrative to come across to us that it was a bad thing, you know, versus like, I'm giving you instructions on where we're going, guys down the hill. Guys, we're going down the hill. You know what I mean? Like, why? That was just a narrative, man. We got put out a narrative. They put a narrative out. They put a narrative out there that these girls were abducted versus that these girls went off willingly with somebody that they knew. Which makes way more sense than somebody in the middle of the day, like a Richard Allen, like a crazy person, goes there during the middle of the day and thinks that I'm going to be able to take these two kids and they're not going to scream. And I have no idea how many people are going to be there. I have no idea. So it's just, I'm going to treat it as a crime, you know, an opportunity. So if the opportunity presents itself, I'll snatch them. I'll snatch up a kid or two, or just one. Like, why wouldn't you grab just? You're just going to sit there waiting for someone to kill. Why would you take two? That's fucking crazy. But you were just always told that guys down the hill is like a bad thing. I don't hear anybody crying, screaming, nothing. They claim that we've only heard a part of it. Okay, great. I'm looking forward to the other part. But I'm all about the data, and I'm loving the fact that the new attorney for the defense team is fucking hammering the data. She's like, because their narrative is that this happened right after they were at the bridge, walks across, and this is all just boom, 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 boom. And logic would tell you, no fucking way. No way. Not after reading that Frank's. And I don't think it was one person walking across doing this, doing that. Like, motherfucker would have been caught a hell of a long time ago. No DNA underneath the girl's fingernails. Nobody scratched at him. Nobody tried to scratch at him. Nobody tried to scratch at anybody. Come on, man. Someone's coming at you with a knife. You're not going to defensive wounds. Nothing. Just going to. I don't know. Yeah, it's just we're told these narratives, and then everybody out there is like, "Yep, this is what happened," and I just because who says so? Oh, cops? Okay, we're just supposed to believe them. Whoever turned it on had to have Liberty's fingerprint. Did Liberty turn it on? We really don't know now, do we? Well, it was turned on right there at the body, like her fingers were there. Take her finger and swipe it. Who knows? Did she even have it that it needed a fingerprint like that? That would have to come out in court. She might not even have a password on it. Even if she had a password on it, might not have been a fingerprint. 2017. When did fingerprints become a thing? Yeah. Who were the first people to find the girls? When were they really found? But a phone coming out at 4:30 in the morning, I'm telling you, like, I personally believe that there should be subpoenas in to try to get third party, like they did in the Karen Reed case right here. And you'd want to see when those people sent the text messages or the phone calls. Then you're going to have a really good idea of, okay, they couldn't get through here. So then you're going to start talking about the family. And remember with the family, go back to those earlier interviews, when they were calling her phone, was it going through the voicemail or was it ringing, ringing, ringing? And I'm sorry, but who is this? What is this? What is this? The identity of the person or persons, presumably law enforcement that did it, that labeled the geofence data, including labeling a second phone as quote-unquote geofence victim that was not the phone belonging to Liberty. That would mean that on all logic, that is 100% belonging to Abby, because that's the only other victim, unless there was a victim there that we don't know about yet. That would have been Abby, and that Abby had a device. And then this whole time, hasn't the family said that Abby didn't have a device? But maybe that's a piece of the information that they're like, don't give that up because it's something that we're going to use down the road. So please keep that to yourself. Don't tell anybody. And that makes sense to me if Abby truly had a phone, because I found Abby's Facebook and Instagram. And she was friends with, what do you call that boy? Liberty was friends with that boy, Logan. I have all of that preserved on my channel. In fact, tonight I'm going to go deep dive in and play all these little clips from all of my old videos with Delphi. I did all those videos right before the Idaho 4 case. I was big into Delphi, covering it in October, at the end of September, October, and then going up until November. It was right after the arrest of Richard M. Allen, and I was like, dude, something reeks about this right here. And I was like, what the fuck? Especially when I found out that he went and told the police that he was there. I was like, get the fuck out of here, no way. I didn't believe that one person did it, though. In my personal opinion, is Elvis Fields and his new gang members did this. Yeah, I think that they knew. Who would know those girls were going to be out there? Your friends know that. Your friends. So, for example, if I got off of work and I call my son Logan and say, "Hey, just leaving work, where you at?" Because he knew that he had like that day off, and he normally would spend time over there in that area on days off. Hey, where you at? I'm gonna come pick you up, or we're gonna go to Patrick's and whatever. I don't know, people. I don't know. But I would call my kid right away and ask them where they were. And when you ask them where they're at, then that's gonna, like, you're gonna know. Oh, who are you there with? Oh, I'm with, you know, Abby. Okay. Who else? Who else is with you? That just seems to me versus someone like a Richard Allen, like, I don't know. But I want to thank you guys for coming out over here. I want to look into. So there's been no filing by Gull to say, hey, all this shit that you guys wanted in March. I told the state to compel, and they had 30 days to get that stuff to you. There was no no order that came in. Because I kept looking for these orders. Because I was like, holy shit, the defense is asking for all of this stuff. And my guess is that a lot of this has to do with, if you look at it, the third party culpability. And maybe what she's saying is, we're going to have this hearing first. If I'm going to allow it, then I'm going to have you turn over this stuff. Like, it's like, wait, no, I need this stuff to see. Everything's backwards. Everything's backwards. Elvis Fields loves cats. Have you guys taken a look at his Facebook page? He is friends with nothing but model type women, and he loves his cats. Very weird. Him and Enon should hang out. Can you imagine Elvis Fields and Enon doing a live together? Yeah, bring it home, baby. Bring it home. Again, Annie Oakley, welcome. I think you remember before. Jancy, welcome. And then Lady Di, thank you so much for that super chat. You guys all know you guys would show up for that Enon Elvis Fields cat. Speaking of which, one of the people that I called, you guys know that I called some of these people to ask them if I could borrow their trucks. They never got back to me. The cement people. Like Abrams and all them. Yeah, I was trying to get in touch with them, see if they would do an interview. It was all the people that the names were brought up in those motions, and looked them all up, and I'm like, geez. So I want to say thank you so much for popping in. My sister said she saw a pic. Yeah, I have all that stuff saved on those older videos I did in 2022. It would have been, go look between the time of the arrest of Allen and then right before the holidays. So in that 2-month period, I have a ton of videos, and I put a ton of that information out there. It was to preserve in case people deleted. Lana, when was the time I talked to Ina? 2 weeks ago, when I was in Idaho. Yeah, I was on our paths just couldn't. Our schedules were too conflicting. I don't think Ian had anything to do with the Idaho 4 murders. I think he might have sold drugs back in the day. I think that he's an airhead, and he knows I think that he's an airhead, and we laugh about it. I think he's a ditz. Yeah. But I don't think he's a killer. I think he's too awkward. He'd get caught. Like, if it was Enon, he would have got caught. Like, he's just too... You know, it's like you're a kid. They leave a little trail of everywhere they were that day. That'd be like Enon, okay? Again, that's my opinion. People still go nuts about, I know. I wish I could, it's just nothing there. Yeah. He got straight up subpoenaed. He got straight up subpoenaed. And you guys, he got subpoenaed because the police never went and talked to him. It was for the purposes of that. Like, you never... This is a guy that says that he heard a scream. Okay? You guys remember that? This is a guy that said he saw black SUV. You guys remember that? Like, you didn't neighborhood canvas shit and knock on people's doors and ask them any questions. Here was a guy that would have... There's no interview with him. He said they came by once and he couldn't even remember if he just saw them in passing or if it was like it was blocked off. But he's like, no, I was never asked any type of questions. Like, and that's just nuts. That's just absolutely, that's crazy. He had no idea what was going on at that time, and you're not going to ask every single neighbor that's over there. Especially if you're neighborhood canvassing, you're not going to run and see who actually has, like, who's had problems in the past with law enforcement. He's a pothead. I love him. Oh my God, remember that story when he was tripping in acid and he's twirling his freaking fire sticks? I'm sorry, but that shit, I can just crack up all day watching him. Like, we could talk about nothing and just laugh. Like, he's like, oh, yeah. Oh, where'd you find that body cam of me getting arrested? I thought it was great. Oh, fuck. All right, guys. I'll be live all night tonight with different things. I got another show starting here at 6. Join me. Lots to chat about. I'm telling you. Love it. Love it. Love what's going on. All right, so come back and join literally in like an hour. I might even just bump it up. Keep the train going. What do you guys say? Just keep going? I want to go on to the next topic, though, so I'm trying to keep my live separate. But so with that known, hit the thumbs up, pass it around, get it known. But who cares that Richard Allen said that he did whatever 60 times in all these crazy different ways? Liberty's phone was turned on at 4:30 in the morning. I want some answers. Go get me some answers there, Court TV. See you soon. Peace out. Bye, guys. I want some answers, and I want it now.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation.